That night, I met up with the others at our house to explain why they were so wrong.
Your car is American. It doesn't work here. It rides like a Corvette.
I have to say, I'm with you on the ride in the BMW thing.
The ride in the... It is atrocious, isn't it?
It is a bad ride.
This is exactly what we were after.
Look, it's a physical experience driving that car.
No, the physical experience, the Honda is the one that... Are we agreed? The Honda is considerably the cheapest here.
It needs to be.
It's 5,000 less than yours, 6,000 less.
Fair enough, okay.
And it's more powerful.
The reason the Porsche, I think, is the best car is, you know, when you drive some cars, you get a sense that the car is smiling when you're driving.
What?
Yeah. No, listen, hear me out. No, you drive some cars and they're smiling.
Oh, what's
got
this
too many
bulge
gears
in my pocket? It's the £6,000 I'd save by buying the Honda rather than your Porsche.
But that's not an argument either.
It's worth £6,000 less.
Why don't you save 20 grand and buy a micro?
Precisely.
I mean, that's not an argument.
Because
it's not the better car.
That night, we all met up at the pub to see what we'd all found out.
How many gears did your car have?
That would be
Richard?
6, Jeremy.
How many did my car have? Do you remember?
I'm thinking it was probably 6 again. It was 6.
5 because it has better mid-range. No, it's got
because it's old-fashioned.
The reason it's
And it would run out of puff if you got
I'm afraid it was like trying to sort out the Middle East. Nowhere near as important, obviously, but just as impossible.
Cheers, welcome, 6-gear man.
It's so wussy. It's such a pair of wittering Nazi boys. I can't believe it. 6 gears.
To find out if my colleagues shared this view, we peeled off for a cup of tea. So, chaps, if it were your money, you had to go out tomorrow and buy one of those cars, big 2-door coupe, a lot of money, what's it going to be?
For its drive, and it is so far ahead of the Jaguar as a drive, I'd have to have the 911.
I mean, I'm not really a 911 sort of person, but I get in that car and I drive away and I think, wow, this is really special. But I'd have the Jag. It's a huge car. You're sitting in a tiny cabin. You're using an immense amount of fuel, but it's all yours.
No, I'll tell you the moment. The worry for me would be if you bought the 911, at some point you are going to be on a country road enjoying that brilliant drive. You're going to look in your mirror and you're going to see one of those Jags and think, I shouldn't go for that one.
Tell you what I think is interesting here. We haven't discussed the BMW.
Well, it's boring.
It's like Munich, actually. But it is, if you think about it, you go to Munich, you get a fantastic hotel, the place looks great, it's clean and tidy, the services are good, the food's great, the lot of it. You come home and you never think, wish I was still in Munich.
It just leaves you feeling completely cold.
There's no magic in it.
Boring. Completely boring. So that's gone. You'd have the Jag.
I'd have the Jag.
911. It
And you'd have the 911.
So go on, casting vote. Go on. You've got
I don't know,
you've got
honestly,
to spend money on one.
Logic dictates I buy the Porsche,
It does.
but I wouldn't.
You'd go for the Jag.
I think I've just made my mind. I'd have the
I
Jag.
can totally see why. I really can. But
It is magnificent. It's a majority verdict.
Yeah.
And it's the Jag.
You still like the Datsun?
Yes, I do. It's still my favourite of the 3.
Why?
It looks almost as good as the Crossfire.
This is excellent.
I think it's a good $3,000 cheaper than that Audi, which is boring and a cliche.
That's probably
And
the
as
most
the only
beautiful thing
adult
I've ever
here,
seen.
I think it's the best compromise on terms of price, performance and looks.
You like the Audi most of all, don't you?
I do. I drove the Audi last, and when I got in it, I thought, oh joy, this has been done properly, and I will happily pay the extra $5,000.
You like the Nissan most
I
of
do
all.
like the Nissan most of all.
This is really tricky because I like the Crossfire.
We'll have to have a
I
fight.
can't believe it.
I hated the Crossfire hardtop. It's because that sets out to be a sporty and it's rubbish. I mean, it's a really bad car. But when you take the roof off, you lose any sense of that sportiness. It's, whether it's a Ferrari or a Porsche, it doesn't make any difference. And with the Crossfire, it's very comfortable. It looks fantastic. I drove it over here and I thought, no, this is the one. It's rubbish, but it's cheap and it's good looking, and you get the roof down and just think, well, you know, this...
Now you're driving the Chrysler, you're on the McDonald's management fast train.
I'd rather that than Goodyear, Stickleback and Bunsen burner, and next year I'm going up to a D pay grade, and then I'll be able to have the DSG gearbox.
I would rather have the Nissan and work on the bins every day of my life. I would.
You'd be putting it in the bin.
It would be.
This hasn't happened before. We've
No.
always reached a verdict. At least 2 of us have agreed, and I don't know about you, I am not moving.
Well, I'll tell you what we
I don't know
have.
what we're going to do.
I know exactly what this verdict is.
What?
We go to voiceover and work it out. Someone in Australia had a picture of me on their desk, and they went, let's build that bloke a car.
Oh, it better be allowed. They had a picture of me and they said, it's so good, even this bloke's going to like it. And when you press the throttle, as you sort of change, you short shift up and you press the throttle, you get that deep down burble that sort of goes up the back of your spine, and you sort of think, ooh.
I really like the looks of it, too.
Oh, no, I can't believe. So I'm going to be left outvoted. The verdict is going to be...
If you've got a 911, go, someone's poured paint stripper on it again. So it's you then, matey boy.
If I was walking towards the dealerships with my own money, at the last minute I'd think, and I'd veer off and buy the 911.
Hey!
Go on, then.
It's 2 against 1. Let's imagine this is a democracy. It's a more clever choice. It's finally a beautiful looking car.
It's one. It's the Top Gear Sports Coupe. I'm not going to deny that. I mean, you're wrong. For God's sake, if you're watching this, don't buy one, but it's one.
Because the other two didn't have speed to keep them going, we pulled over for a cup of tea. I feel like a roadie. Ooh. 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
2 o'clock. Naturally, the talk soon turned to how confident we felt about leaving our cargo unattended. Hammond didn't seem fazed at all.
For one thing, it's got like all security systems on it and alarms, and even the key, when you plug it in, it charges up off the ignition, so I'll know when I hit the button it's locked, so that's quite safe, thank you.
Actually, this is pretty good. This has got, I can't remember what it's called, Renault anti-intruder device. It's got like
Raid.
Raid, yeah, and it's got deadlocks that...
So you won't get in there.
Fantastic.
So, what about yours?
I might go and have my tea.
Just...
Yeah, because there's 70,000 quid's worth of guitars and that. I'm going to be out there if you want me.
Generous as their offer was, we had to decline the champagne and jacuzzi because we had something much more interesting to do. Come to a verdict on these people carriers.
So we've driven them. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think I'd have the Renault.
Well, I reckon the C-Max is gloomy. It really is dark and miserable.
So it's like living in a piece of coal.
They're all about the interior, and the Renault interior is simply better. It's also got a stronger engine.
Yeah. If I had to have one of those, I'd have the Renault. But I do have a bit of a serious issue, which is that compared with the equivalent straightforward hatchback in each range, these are about £2,000 more, and I still can't quite work out where the £2,000 goes. I'm thinking, for example, tonight, at what point did I really feel that I needed the Scenic rather than just a Megane? The dueling girl with the swords, okay, I still couldn't get those in the boot. Your tall bloke, he still couldn't really fit in the back properly.
I agree.
I think it's a slight con in that respect.
I think maybe it is. So we're agreed, of the two, we'd have the Renault.
Yes.
We can kind of see the point of mini MPVs as an updated hatch, but they're just not worth it.
We can't square the price difference.
£2,000 extra just smacks a bit of a rip-off. What are you paying for?
Having brightened the place up with some decorations, Jeremy cooked us a paella while we discussed our cars.
If we have to identify the best budget supercar, it's the Audi. There's no question about it. If you have to identify the best car, it's the Ferrari. Because it's
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
It isn't.
It is.
Well, it isn't. The McLaren's better car.
It's not a better supercar.
We didn't say
Therefore, it's the
supercar, you
Ferrari.
said car.
Okay, best supercar.
Well, now, you see that. The best supercar is
Yes,
the Ferrari.
exactly.
The best car is the McLaren.
Yeah, but if I'm buying a supercar,
And the winner
I'm
of
buying
this
a supercar.
test, so far,
Is the Audi.
is the Audi.
I'll go with that entirely.
Yes. Not very useful for the viewers.
With dinner served, we carried on trying to reach a verdict, but it was hopeless.
Yes, it is, but the Ferrari,
not the best
they've
supercar.
injected... There's some magic
With the
in
roof
Ferrari.
off, with the roof off, it is properly good.
Really?
£70,000 will buy a cook.
Would it interfere with this debate if I were suddenly and violently sick?
Clearly, we weren't going to agree without an informed and reasoned discussion. Okay. The Rover is a proper symbol of British defiance.
Awful
The
places.
reason why Britain has no car industry anymore, why all the names are gone, is because we live in the past. We used to be a great country.
Now, look...
Noble has come along and said, we are now in the 21st century, let's build a car to beat the world.
No, I could build your car. I couldn't build a Morgan.
You'd have to go to
You could, you carved that.
You
A
need
chisel.
It's craftsman built, not some spotty teenager with a rivet gun.
Now, the problem with the Morgan is it's just a car that they forgot to stop making in the 40s.
No, that's
okay?
entirely wrong.
Okay, the problem with the Noble is
There isn't
The
one.
engine's in the wrong place.
You will admit this is a beautiful car.
No,
It's all right.
I wouldn't admit that.
It's a toy, it's not a car.
Exactly.
We asked our mums to retire and consider a verdict. Unfortunately, they got sidetracked.
6 letters beginning with A. It's not cryptic.
So we got them seated round a table.
You've got all the information, you've driven all the cars.
I would have the Jazz because it handles well. There's plenty of space in the back.
Two automatics.
Yeah, but it was also when the back seats were down, there was very little room for your legs for driving. I couldn't get the seat back far enough for me.
I didn't notice that.
Although we sort of think, hey, those sliding doors are great, bzz, I absolutely guarantee you, like having an old internet connection, after 2 days, you'd get really impatient with them because they're too slow.
There's another thing.
You want them to
They're
go.
good for anybody getting into the front, but as you pointed out... they're
No good for getting in the back.
You can't. I mean,
No,
really
you
just
they
saw
don't
the
come
back
back
half
far
off.
enough.
OK, then, so we've got the Renault and the Honda Jazz. You've already declared your support for the Honda Jazz.
Yeah.
Even though the Renault is plainly...
Cheaper, faster, bigger.
Jazz, yeah.
Well, I was all for the Jazz until
Yeah.
I drove the Renault. And
You
then
liked
I
it?
started to waver. Although I wasn't driving top gear speeds on the track.
Oh, I don't We're
Going
not...
around those bends, it stuck like glue to the road, and I
That was a 1
impressed
minute,
with it.
11 second lap you did there.
I still think, overall, I would go for the Jazz because I think it's a more attractive car to look at.
But I still want the
It's a very nice car.
And there we are, a unanimous verdict in favour of the Honda Jazz.